Così edificarono come gli uomini devono edificare, con la spada in una mano e la cazzuola nell'altra. Buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti all'incontro che apre questa giornata di lavori, la terza giornata del Festival della Vita in Ricerca. E è un piacere e un onore presentare Brian Grimm, presidente della Freedom of Religion and Business Foundation, che ha accettato il nostro invito e con il quale abbiamo condiviso una parte importante del percorso del festival. Il titolo del suo intervento, con la spada in una mano e la cazzuola nell'altra, riprende un passo dei cori dalla rocca di Eliot che abbiamo portato in scena ieri sera grazie a Franco Palmieri. Questo intervento nasce proprio da un contenuto, nasce dall'idea che il diritto e il riconoscimento della libertà di religione sono fondamentali nel momento in cui questa identità viene spesa per costruire una dimensione di vita comunitaria, una dimensione di vita comune. Grazie a tutti, traduco rapidamente per Brian. Welcome to the first speech of the Festival of the Life in Research. I'd like to thank you, Brian Grimm, for his presence. With him, we begin to share an important route, and the title of his speeching, with the sword in one hand and the trowel in the other, are a quote from The Choir of the Rock by Eliot. And at the same time, we will see what is today defending the freedom of religion in order to build a new community. And we will see also the relationship between the freedom of religion and the opportunities of business. Thank you, Brian. Thank you to be with us.
Thank you, Enrico, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you especially for the museum to host this wonderful event, and it's a great honor to be with you. I suspect the thought that I'm going to share with you today will be new to some. The thought is simple. It's that business can be a powerful force supporting interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace. Is the translations working? Yeah. The reason business can be a powerful force supporting interfaith understanding, religious freedom, and peace is because business is at the crossroads of culture, commerce, and creativity. Business people come together for a common purpose, be it making a product or providing a service that transcends cultural and religious identities and unites people in a common enterprise where differences give way to shared purpose. Let me quote someone who is not exactly friendly to religion that helps make the point. Voltaire observed, to take a view of the Royal Exchange in London, a place more venerable than many courts of justice, where the representatives of all nations meet for the benefit of mankind. There, the Jew, the Muslim, and the Christian transact together as though they all profess the same religion and give the name of infidel to none but the bankrupts. I will come back to the role religion plays in addressing the bankrupts or the poor. That's important. But to begin, let's watch the first of a number of videos, short videos, I'll show today that demonstrate the social phenomenon where the marketplace brings people together. It's a video from Lebanon, the only country in the world that celebrates Annunciation Day, March 25th, as a national Islamo-Christian holiday. In the marketplace, there's neither Jew nor Muslim nor Christian. These all fade away.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا
course, this video demonstrates the powerful force of entertainment, music, and film can have on supporting interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace. Although it wasn't fully clear, the artist, Tanya Casas, is singing Ave Maria in concert with the Adhan, the Muslim call to prayer. Here's another video of Tanya performing the same song.
March 25, Lebanon is the only country in the world that celebrates Annunciation Day as a national Islamo-Christian holiday. One holiday, one Lebanon.
So, what I will endeavor to do today is argue convincingly that matters of faith and religious liberty are not just in the interests of people of faith, but they are in the interests of everyone in society, including, as I will demonstrate, business. I will also endeavor to demonstrate that business is a powerful force supporting interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace. I will demonstrate these points by looking at several interconnected concepts. First, faith, religious and otherwise, matters to the economy and to business. Second, business is a powerful force supporting religious liberty, interfaith understanding, and peace. Third, sustainable economic growth and religious liberty are linked. And fourth, religion can make economic growth fairer. So first, faith, religious and otherwise, matters to the economy and to business. Reports of the death of organized religion, have been greatly exaggerated. According to recent research my foundation did for the World Economic Forum, for the World Economic Forum's Global Agenda Council on the Role of Religion, the growth of religious populations worldwide is expected to be 23 times larger than the growth of unreligious populations between 20 and 2050. The research report, Changing Religion, Changing Economies, has profound implications for the global economy. For example, today, 7 of the 8 G8 or G7 nations have Christian majority populations. But by 2050, only one of the leading economies is projected to have a majority Christian population, the United States. The other mega economies in 2050 are projected to include a country with a Hindu majority, India, a Muslim majority, Indonesia, and 2 with exceptionally high levels of religious diversity, China and Japan. While the impact of a more diverse religion is on the rise on a global scale, faith itself is an important element of the global economy. For instance, faith in the economy, as measured by monthly consumer confidence indexes, is viewed as a key factor of the economy's overall health. But what about religious faith? Might it also matter for the economy? Wells Fargo Bank recently identified 4 markets transformations that they expect in 2015. The first 3 relate to the global economic recovery and technology. But the fourth is that business will shift from being primarily about making money to being about doing good. Socially responsible business is certainly a theme championed by religious leaders, including Pope Francis, Sojourner's Jim Wallace, the Dalai Lama, and the Archbishop of Canterbury. Recent studies suggest that faith can positively impact the economy through at least two different vectors: ethos of a company and engagement. First, the ethos of a company. Worldwide, a number of companies adhere to religious or belief-based ethos. For instance, Sanitarium, the most popular breakfast cereal company in Australia, is owned and operated by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. As a practical demonstration of the Church's doctrinal dedication to health and well-being, Sanitarium is a South Pacific leader in producing healthy products and organizing community programs to encourage healthy lifestyles. One such Sanitarium program is their popular nationwide triathlons, which inspire children to get moving in a friendly and supportive environment with an emphasis on enjoying the experience as part of an active lifestyle rather than competition. In fact, breakfast cereals in general have Seventh-day Adventist roots. The parent company of Sanitarium was Sanitas, the original company set up by then Adventists John Harvey and W.K. Kellogg to manufacture toasted cornflakes as a healthier alternative to the greasy American breakfast of the day. Yes, and now you know the religious roots of Kellogg's cornflakes. Another example of a Christian inspiration for business is the ethos of Sunshine Nut Company in Mozambique. This is an example showing how one evangelical Christian CEO, motivated by his faith, has started a company in Mozambique that not only stocks the shelves of America's major food stores, from Giant and Wegmans to Whole Foods and H-E-B, but empowers tens of thousands of people. His innovative business is based on what he calls a reverse tithe, where 90% of the profits go back into the local economy or community. That means many American consumers are participating in a faith endeavor, perhaps unaware. Here's the story of Don Larson.
While it used to be a worldwide leader in cashew production, Mozambique is now one of the world's poorest nations. Banking policies and civil war led to extreme poverty across religious and cultural lines, leaving many widowed mothers and over 1.6 million orphans throughout the country. Don Larson, former vice president at the Hershey Company and founder and CEO of the Sunshine Nut Company, is working to revive Mozambique's economy and reverse the trend in broken families. Inspired by his faith and the belief that companies can have a profound impact, Don is working with people of all faiths to transform lives by helping provide jobs for over 50,000 people and by donating 90% of his profits to support orphans, empower farmers and strengthen the local infrastructure, helping to bring interfaith understanding and peace.
Such examples are not limited to the Christian tradition. Some case studies set out in a new book, Practical Wisdom in Management, Business Across Spiritual Traditions, document the ethos in each of 10 different religious traditions and humanist traditions. These range from the humanism guiding Mondelez International, formerly Kraft Foods, and the Buddhist influence on Whole Foods, to the Zoroastrian influence of India's Tata Group, India's largest conglomerate with operations on 6 continents in more than 80 countries. The second way that business and faith go together is through corporate engagement. Recognizing and drawing on the religiously affiliated identities of employees can help companies successfully navigate challenges and seize new opportunities. A new study from the United Nations Global Compact Business for Peace platform and my foundation, the Religious Freedom and Business Foundation, shows how businesses, often at the initiative of people of faith within the companies, can promote interfaith understanding and peace. This is happening in countries as diverse as Nigeria, Brazil, Israel, Philippines, and Indonesia, as well as in the tense border between India and Pakistan. In 2013, Based on the suggestions of their employees, the Coca-Cola Company launched a project to promote understanding and dialogue by installing 2 small world machines in New Delhi, India, and Lahore, Pakistan, areas where religious tensions are high. Long separated by a border that has seen a number of wars, Indians and Pakistanis were able to use the machine's live video feeds and large 3D touchscreens to speak to and even touch the other person on the other side. People on both sides of the border who had never met exchanged peace signs, touched hands, and danced together. Let's have a look at the video.
The relationship between India and Pakistan is one that has seen a lot of lows.
It's stressful, it's tense.
It seems it's not improving and it's getting worse.
It's only been 60 years that we have been apart. Before that, we were living harmoniously together.
I think all the strife would go away if you took away the barbed wires in the middle of the 2 countries.
It saddens me that we have this neighbor that we can't even go visit.
They have this perception which they've been ingrained in their heads that that's the bad guy. But when they actually meet them, they realize, you know what, he's just like me.
Mainly because there's no communication. They're near us, but we have no access to them. And it's sad, because together I think we would do wonders.
Creating an environment where young people can exchange ideas, thoughts, gestures, and take away that communication gap that exists.
If I have any opportunity to go to India, I'll surely go there. The whole idea of actually touching hands, it's like communicating with each other without words, and that action speaks louder than anything else.
This is what we are supposed to do, right? We are going to take minor steps so that we are going to solve bigger issues.
It is more about, how similar we are as opposed to how different we are.
Togetherness, humanity, this is what we want. More and more exchange.
While some people are skeptical that Coca-Cola's campaign will have any long-term impact on relations between India and Pakistan, the company believes it's a step in the right direction, and it appears they're selling more of their product. Second, business is a powerful force supporting religious liberty, interfaith understanding, and peace. In September 2013, former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon set up the Business for Peace platform at the United Nations to harness the largely untapped potential of business to bring peace while they grow their bottom lines. Because businesses are at the crossroads of culture, commerce, and creativity, they have the resources and incentive to make the world more peaceful. That's the theory, but what about the practice? A set of case studies published by the United Nations, Global Compact, and my foundation, the Religious Freedom and Business Foundation, shows that the theory has some legs. Businesses in various parts of the world or addressing prejudices that feed violent extremism and terrorism. Although no single initiative is a magic bullet to end all such violence, taken together, they offer a glimpse into the peacemaking potential of business. These include initiatives such as using marketing to cross borders. Companies can make positive contributions to peace by mobilizing advertising campaigns that bring people of various faiths and backgrounds together, as we've already seen in the Coca-Cola Small World campaigns linking people in Pakistan and India through vending machines equipped with video live feeds. A second way is businesses can reward intercultural understanding. Cross-cultural dialogue and cooperation is an essential part of the daily operations for multinational corporations, such as BMW. In collaboration with the United Nations Alliance of Civilizations, the BMW Group offers an annual award to organizations that create innovative approaches to intercultural understanding, including interfaith understanding and peace. Among organizations that have won this award is a tour company in the Middle East, which offers new ideas to build bridges and bring cultures together through collaborative Muslim-Jewish tourism in the Holy Lands. It's called Mejdi Tours.
In many Middle Eastern countries, social and political tensions have spurred violence and unrest along religious and cultural lines. Each group within this struggle has a different narrative and understanding of what has led to current culture and conflict. Aziz Abdusera and Scott Cooper, co-CEOs and founders of Mejdi Tours, recognize that allowing people to tell their story is a first step in fostering peace and cultural understanding. In Israel, for example, their dual narrative approach allows Israeli and Palestinian tour guides to offer varying perspectives on culture, religion, and politics at each location.
Another way businesses can support interfaith understanding is by supporting social entrepreneurs. The business environment provides neutral ground for religious differences to give way to shared concerns of enterprise and economic development. For example, Brazilian social entrepreneur Jonathan Berezovsky, through his company Migroflix, helps immigrants and refugees start enterprises that empower them and show their value to the local community. Here's Jonathan's company, Migroflix.
Immigrants often face prejudice and intolerance due to different religious or cultural identities. When newcomers relocate to Brazil, founder and CEO Jonathan Berezovsky and his organization Migroflix help to economically empower and integrate immigrants into local society. Migroflix does this by bringing natives and newcomers together with workshops and events, offering live music, art and food, allowing locals to embrace their international friends by first understanding their customs and culture. Migroflix aims to show the world that Jews, Muslims and Christians, some of whom have immigrated to Brazil from conflict in the Middle East, can come together through mutual understanding, interest and respect.
Migraflix é projeto social sem fins lucrativos que empodera imigrantes de baixa renda que moram no Brasil, promovendo as culturas deles.
Another way that businesses can help advance interfaith understanding is by boosting workforce diversity. When businesses are sensitive to the religious and cultural issues around them, they not only make reasonable accommodations for faith in the workplace, but they can also address difficult unmet social needs. Businesses in Indonesia did this by organizing a mass wedding for interfaith couples who had lived without legal status and with no ready means to become legitimately wed. By obtaining legal status, thousands of interfaith couples can now access the public health system, obtain education for their children, and have expanded opportunities for employment. I should also mention that the businessman in Indonesia behind the initiative is YW Junardi, a Catholic business leader in a Muslim-majority country, Indonesia. Here's Junardi's story.
Indonesia is a religiously diverse country where cultural tensions are all too often exacerbated by local poverty. At the root of this dilemma is the problem that many parents can't afford the cost of marriage licenses, leaving their children without legal status, hindering their opportunities for education, future employment, and even healthcare. YW Junardi, President Commissioner of PT Rajwali Corporation, has used his business know-how to address the problem. Collaborating with business, government, and religious institutions, he facilitates mass weddings, which are presided over by ministers of each faith. Through his efforts, thousands of couples and their children have gained immediate legal status and a renewed hope for the future.
It's fair to say that the potential of business to support interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace is largely unreported, unstudied, and untapped. More research and incentivizing programs would help to change that. First, we need to have a fuller picture of the range, impact, and effectiveness of business initiatives to support interfaith understanding and peace. Second, we need to increase positive incentivization of double bottom line enterprises that do social good and make a profit. Possibilities include giving higher profile to the global programs like the Global Business and Interfaith Peace Awards, a partnership initiative between my foundation and the United Nations. In fact, most of the business leaders I'm highlighting today were finalists in our 2016 awards given out during the Paralympics in Rio de Janeiro last summer. Increasing such knowledge and incentives can inspire and give resources to a new generation of socially conscious business entrepreneurs and peacemakers. Let me introduce you to other finalists for the inaugural 2016 Global Business and Interfaith Peace Awards. Business leaders from across the globe who are advancing interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace. The religious, geographic, and business-type diversity of these businesses and leaders shows that the values of interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace have universal appeal. They are doing this in 4 general ways. First, through their core business. Second, through social investment and philanthropy. Third, advocacy and public policy engagement. And fourth, in partnerships and collective action. First, in their core business, a company can advance interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace through their core operations. This means championing interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace through a company's core business operations, including their internal procedures, human resources, hiring, training, product, service development, sourcing policies, supply chains, as well as the development of products and services that promote interfaith understanding and peace. As one example, Brittany Underwood, founder and president of Akola in Uganda and the United States, gives an example. Here's her company, Akola.
Conflict in Uganda has left many women and children as widows and orphans. Violence led to widows without a means to care for their families and homeless children wandering the streets. Brittany Underwood is founder and chairman of ACOLA, a mission-driven enterprise that empowers women to become agents of transformation in their families and communities through economic development. ACOLA promotes gender equality, human rights and religious freedom by training and employing women, providing them and their children a means of existence and a better quality of life. On the sales end, Brittany markets and distributes through ACOLA's Texas operation, which also employs women who have been rescued from human trafficking.
Another way businesses can advance interfaith understanding, religious freedom, and peace is through social investment and philanthropy. This includes financial and in-kind contributions and strategic social investment to support NGOs, the United Nations, or other multilateral agencies directly to affect communities and/or contributions to functional expertise through volunteering efforts. Fouad Maksumi, the executive chairman and CEO of Future Pipe Industries Group Limited in the United Arab Emirates and Lebanon, is an example of using his business know-how and resources to erase the conditions that can feed extremism. Also, he's been a speaker here at the Rimini meeting, just nearby. Here's Fouad Maksumi's story.
During a 15-year civil war, many youth in Lebanon forewent their education as they became increasingly involved with religious fundamentalism, leading to unemployment and economic stagnation. Fouad Maksumi, CEO of Future Pipes Industries Group Limited, witnessed how his late son's youthful energy and cross-cultural savvy triggered exponential growth as his son provided a positive vision for productive and socially responsible business. Maksumi and his foundation have helped empower thousands by harnessing this same youthful enthusiasm for entrepreneurship and religious freedom. His microcredit training for Lebanese people of all faiths has helped over 10,000 individuals set up sustainable businesses, and hundreds of thousands more are receiving vocational training.
A company can also advance interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace through advocacy and public policy engagement. This includes fostering social cohesion and intergroup dialogue and relationship building in the workplace, marketplace, and local community. Kathy Ireland, who's the founder and president of Kathy Ireland Worldwide in the United States and working worldwide, including in Iraq and Sudan, is an example of how a business leader advances interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace through advocacy and public policy engagement through her support of an NGO as well as direct policy engagement. Here's Kathy Ireland's story.
Religious discrimination and oppression are disintegrating opportunities for stability and freedom in the Middle East. This is made worse where community leaders and government officials fail to appreciate the socio-economic benefits of interfaith understanding and religious freedom. Kathy Ireland, founder and president of Kathy Ireland Worldwide, supports the extraordinary efforts of Hardwired, a women-led initiative that empowers community and national leaders to advance freedom and dignity in the face of religious oppression. Beyond her support for Hardwired, Kathy engages personally. In one case, she hosted an event for Yazidi women escaping oppression, which included an appeal to Congress to take immediate action to stop ISIS atrocities against the Yazidi.
A company can also advance interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace through partnerships and collective action. This can be done by joining forces with governments, United Nations entities, civil society organizations, and other businesses to act collectively to promote interfaith understanding and peace, and forge long-term partnerships for local or regional economic and sustainable development. Frank Fredericks, founder and CEO of Mean Communications, used his communications firm to do just this. Here's Frank's story.
Many religious and cultural communities face otherism due to differences in education and underlying economic issues that often spur violence from perceived differences. Frank Fredericks, founder and CEO of Mean Communications, led his organization in a coalition with the United Nations Alliance of Civilizations, UNESCO, and other partners to produce a coordinated social media effort to spread awareness for the worldwide campaign, Do One Thing for Diversity and Inclusion. His efforts prompted individuals on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to participate in specific endeavors that support inclusion and cultural diversity, and to show how their engagement in these actions helped overcome religious and cultural differences in their communities.
So I'd like to now talk about the third point I have today, the link between economic growth and religious freedom. Freedom of belief is one of three factors significantly associated with global economic growth, according to a recent study by researchers at Georgetown University and Brigham Young University. The study looked at GDP growth in 173 countries in 2011 and controlled for 24 different financial, social, and regulatory influences. While such a study does not prove that religious freedom causes economic growth, it suggests that the matter deserves more consideration. Indeed, as the world navigates away from years of poor economic performance, freedom of religion or belief may be an unrecognized asset. For instance, the same study finds a positive relationship between religious freedom and 10 of the 12 pillars of global competitiveness, as measured by the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Index. For example, the study finds that innovative strength is more than twice as likely in countries with respect for religious liberty, that is, countries that have low levels of government restrictions on religion and low levels of social hostilities involving religion. So research indicates that when freedom of religion or belief is put to practice, it has several tangible effects. First, reduce corruption. Research finds that laws and practices that exclude religion are related to higher levels of corruption. This is borne out by a simple correlation between the Pew Research Center's 2012 Government Restrictions on Religion Index and the 2014 Corruption Perceptions Index. 9 of the 10 most corrupt countries in the world have high or very high government restrictions on religious liberty. Religious freedom allows business people to draw on spiritual values and moral teachings as they go about their work. It helps to inform their business ethics. Second, religious freedom provides more peace. When religious freedoms are not respected, the results can be violence and conflict. Normal economic activities become vulnerable to disruption, with local and foreign investment driven away and sustainable development undermined. One needs only to look at Egypt, where religious regulations and hostilities have adversely affected the tourism industry. More generally, tolerance is a key ingredient in peace and stability, which is particularly important for business because where stability exists, there's more opportunity to invest and conduct normal and predictable business operations, especially in new and emerging markets. This is the topic of my 2011 Cambridge University book, The Price of Freedom Denied, and a 2014 study by the Institute of Economics and Peace. The next way that religious freedom contributes to the economy is it promotes less harmful regulation. Some religious restrictions can directly affect economic activity, creating legal barriers for import and export industries, such as the halal food market. Prescriptive laws can also stoke region-wide religious hostilities, again disrupting markets. Examples range from discrimination against women in the workplace over such things as headscarves, to the use of anti-blasphemy laws to attack business rivals, such as recently happened in the media industry in Pakistan. Respecting religious freedom also reduces liabilities. The American company Abercrombie & Fitch's stocks dropped when news broke that the clothing retailer was being taken before the U.S. Supreme Court for refusing to hire a Muslim woman wearing a headscarf, a violation of American equal opportunity employment laws. By avoiding religious discrimination, businesses can avoid such liabilities. Religious freedom also promotes more diversity and growth. Freedom of religion can contribute to a rich pluralism that itself is associated with economic growth. For instance, the world's 12 most religiously diverse countries each outpaced the world's economic growth in 2008 and 2012, according to recent research. Indeed, the active participation of religious minorities in a society often boosts economic innovation, as the history of the Industrial Revolution has shown. In China, the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s and 1970s, religion was outlawed and many people were persecuted for their beliefs. While it is true that China continues to regulate religion more strictly than other countries, current conditions are far freer. This relative opening up of society has resulted in the spread of religion such that China is now home to the world's second largest religious population after India, according to the latest demographic estimates. And a new study in China's Economic Review specifically finds a link between Christianity, adhered to by some 5% of China's population, and the nation's economic growth. Arguably, ensuring freedom for religious groups in China and elsewhere is a way to stimulate and sustain growth in the decades ahead. It's something every country can benefit from. And the last question I'll talk about today is, can religion make economic growth more fair? So rising income inequality contributes to social and political unrest, threatening our economic future and general well-being. Why is the faith factor important to consider? Well, first, because religious adherence is on the rise, as is clearly seen in recent research on religious demographics. Second, because religion is often ignored. In fact, religion plays both negative and positive roles in relation to inclusive growth. On the one hand, religion-related hostilities, prejudices, and biases lock out people and inhibit inclusive growth. On the other, religious organizations have a tremendous capacity for doing good, with most religious groups being known for their programs to address poverty and/or care for the poor. For example, earlier this year, global religious and faith leaders convened at the World Bank to call for and commit to ending extreme poverty by 2030. Beyond poverty alleviation, research also shows that when freedom of religion or belief, including interfaith and intercultural understanding, accompanies the rise of faith, and it leads to peaceful conditions necessary for inclusive growth. The faith factor in inclusive growth is a complex topic only beginning to be analyzed. My talk today aims to help get the discussion started by offering a look at Christianity, while recognizing that other religions can also play an important part in inclusive growth. We invite specialists in faith, other faith traditions, to join the discussion. For instance, almsgiving, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, is widely practiced by Muslims throughout the world, according to a Pew Research survey of 38,000 Muslims. An economy that excludes kills. With these words, Filipino Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, who is the head of Caritas International, recently challenged business leaders in the Philippines to address poverty. Speaking at the 39th Annual Bishops' Businessmen's Conference for Human Development, Cardinal Tagle exhorted them to include the poor in their vision and mission statements in deciding what goods to produce and services to provide, and as part of their strategic plans. Christian groups and organizations approach inclusive growth in a number of different ways, according to their different theologies. The largest Christian church, the Roman Catholic Church, emphasizes the importance of social justice and alleviating poverty. Meanwhile, Cardinal Tagle was echoing the sentiment of Pope Francis. Speaking in Bolivia last year at the World Meeting of Popular Movements, the pontiff said that the first of three great tasks demanding decisive action is to put the economy at the service of people. Human beings in nature must not be at the service of money. Let us say no to an economy of exclusion and inequality where money rules rather than service. That economy kills. That economy excludes. That economy destroys Mother Earth, said Pope Francis. The other tasks Pope Francis outlined were to unite all people on the path of peace and justice and to defend the environment as outlined in the encyclical Laudate Si on care for our human home. This does not mean that the Catholic position is blindly pro-business. It is pro-people and pro-business only to the extent that business can lift people from poverty and despair to prosperity and hope. Quoting a 4th century bishop, Pope Francis called the unfettered pursuit of money the dung of the devil, emphasizing that developing countries should not be reduced to providers of raw material and cheap labor for developing countries. The emphasis is on fair social distribution more than individual wealth creation. Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle are not alone among Christian leaders in focusing on social justice. Many others champion inclusive growth, including Jim Wallace, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and grassroots action also plays a key. I'd like to talk about the link between the Protestant work ethic and capitalism. So a second Christian approach, more typical of Protestant churches, places the emphasis on personal responsibility for wealth, prosperity, enterprise, and growth. Long ago, the sociologist Max Weber noticed the connection between Protestantism and a work ethic, which was central to capitalism. Today, that lives on in new guises, ranging from an emphasis on hard work, self-reliance, and strong families to the prosperities gospel, particularly associated with Pentecostal Christianity, but also found in other religions. This asserts that if you have the right faith and proper religious practice, you will get rich, a theology which has some vocal critics within and outside of Christianity. Many church leaders grapple with the economic challenges on their doorstep. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormons, which now has more members outside the United States than inside the United States, rolled out a global family self-reliance initiative, beginning in sub-Saharan Africa and Latin and South America. This helps their church members and their families find a job, start a business, or get the education they need. These changes around the world are occurring as Christian populations are increasingly concentrated in the South, where the impact of poverty is more broadly felt. The world's share of Christians living in Europe is expected to decline between 2010 and 2050. Meanwhile, the share of the world's Christians living in sub-Saharan Africa is expected to grow significantly from about 24% of the world's Christians today to 38% in 2050. The shift of Christianity's center of gravity to Africa means that African experience will be a major factor helping to shape the social and economic perspectives of global Christianity. And this process is already underway. For instance, there are more Anglican churches, members of Anglican churches living in Africa than in England. The Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, which directly addresses issues related to poverty, recently published a guide, The Vocation of the Business Leader. On poverty, it states that developments in the field of the bottom of the pyramid products and services, such as micro-enterprises, microcredit and social enterprises, and social investment funds, have played an important role in addressing the needs of the poor. These innovations not only help lift people from extreme poverty, but could spark their own creativity and entrepreneurship and contribute to launching a dynamic of development. The Council is now part of the larger initiative headed by Cardinal Peter Turkson, prefect of what is now the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development. You've often heard, teach a man to, give a man a fish he can eat for a day, teach him to fish he can provide for a lifetime. But in reality, people know how to fish. They just can't get access to the pond. Faith-based thinking on poverty, stemming from decades of experience in sub-Saharan Africa, is rapidly moving beyond just delivering aid or teaching a man to fish. As Doug Seebeck, president of Partners Worldwide, a global Christian network aiming to end poverty, says, they know how to fish. People at the margins know how to fish, but they don't have access to the pond. They aren't able to engage and participate in the economic systems, marketplace, relationships, networks of support, collaboration and cooperation, tools and models many of us take for granted. Well, I'd like to conclude with a brief introduction to an interfaith social cohesion and enterprise initiative called Empowerment Plus that my foundation has piloted successfully in Manchester, England, a site of a recent terrorist attack, and is now looking to scale up in Europe and worldwide. Given the recent tragedy in Manchester, the initiative's importance is clear. Empowerment Plus interfaith action groups are communities of people helping each other gain practical life skills and career skills that focus on more than just finding a job, but on a vocation that is meaningful and fulfilling. Empowerment Plus is not just about receiving love and help, but also the transformative opportunity to become part of a neighborly, faith-inspired community that inspires and helps each other, including immigrants and refugees. Empowerment Plus has 3 interconnected elements: master of business on the streets, launching leaders, and self-reliance resources, including finding a better job, all linked together by an interfaith resource, My Foundations. The inspiration for Empowerment Plus comes from the famous story about loving our neighbors, the Good Samaritan. Although the Good Samaritan was a foreigner with a foreign religion, his care for the man left to die by the side of the road is an example of what we are called to show to others regardless of their faith or background. We begin with the Launching Leaders course and then use that as a way to involve more volunteers to run the various components of this initiative. Perhaps the best way to give an idea of the program is to finish with some video testimonies from our graduation, which Sir Alex Ferguson helped us with. If you don't recognize his name, he's the former Manchester United football manager that made Manchester a global name. Here's an introduction to Launching Leaders.
Launching Leaders is an interfaith project and a faith-based project that helps young people or people of any age identify leadership principles in their lives and connect those with their faith and their everyday life.
What I gather from this course is that it's making these young students aware that faith is something that can be part of every day, can shape their lives, and that it incorporates all the learning and the skills that they have, because they're bright young people and they're making the most of what they're learning and putting it into practice in a way that will benefit a much wider community if they use their skills well in the context of their faith.
We work closely with the Muslim community in Manchester, and the chaplain for Manchester University, the Muslim chaplain, was part of our project. And here are his observations about this interfaith social cohesion and enterprise project.
I am Mohammed. I am the honorary Muslim chaplain at the University of Manchester and Muslim chaplain to Manchester Metropolitan University. Well, Launching Leaders, I believe, is a pilot project that is hopefully going to be rolled out by Professor Brian Grimm. And I think what's important is bringing people of different faiths together to share common values. The work booklet is very interesting, that it can be used as a base, but then the elements of faith that are involved are hugely, they're very, not only important, but they're useful to the participants, because people of faith, when you have a faith, it's everything, it's part of your everyday life. You can't get away from. And leadership is something which all young people need to learn. And I don't think it's a skill that is taught at university or school necessarily. It's something that needs to be fostered elsewhere. So for that, it's a hugely useful program, and hopefully it will be successful around the world. So the second phase, after Launching Leaders, is something about helping people and empowering them to get jobs or to get better jobs. So currently we're working with a group of people who are looking for jobs. Some of them have not had employment since they've been here. Some are refugees, some people are British-born nationals who have never had work before, straight from university. And that's very important when you're working with a group like that, to see how the faith element, again, is hugely important, because some people haven't got a strong faith tradition, but just bringing that element into it, and the multi-faith element, because people of faith, especially the six big traditions and the three Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Islam and Christianity, share the same values. And when you're working with people you might never talk to, it shows how much you have in common, and those common threads can be shared and empower you to go out into the real world and have practical skills, which I think are hugely important for us all.
So, in conclusion, I've tried to make 4 points today. First, that faith, religious and otherwise, matters to the economy and business. Second, business is a powerful force supporting interfaith understanding, religious liberty, and peace. Third, that sustainable economic growth and religious liberty are linked. And finally, religion can make economic growth fairer. Thank you.
Chiedo un attimo di pazienza anche alle traduttrici, anche perché credo che le conclusioni e gli elementi di riflessione che sono emersi da questo primo incontro con Brian Grimm siano importanti, e vorrei sottolineare alcuni aspetti. Di solito quando si parla di dialogo interreligioso si cade nel luogo comune che il dialogo
Usually when we talk about religious dialogue, we fall in the common place that it concerns only a small amount of people, specialists mainly. That is wrong, and Mr. Grimm showed it quite well. We saw that interreligious dialogue is something we should do with our business partners, with anyone. And we saw how simple sometimes that can be, touching hands at the border, for example. We saw also how the narration can be improved by religion. We remember that tour operator organizing tours in Palestine. And I'd like to conclude by saying that we didn't talk in theory this morning. Brian this morning brought his know-how, his experience, and it was a pretty much practical one. We saw the faces of people, we saw real cases, real companies that show quite well, as Elliot would say, that another world is possible. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.